some things. There's been, I believe it's 6 games since that last Duke win.
Right.
And obviously this most recent game against Syracuse, he had a huge game. Arguably best game of the season for him. But even in the ones before that, his inconsistency, I think, really is more just attributed to the circumstances of the game than what happened coming out of the video. So right after Duke was Virginia. Well, we know how that went. Nobody scored in double figures. Northeastern, the team was trying a bunch of different stuff. 9 different players had double digits, and yet he still had 9 points and 8 rebounds, like a solid effort. Against Louisville, he had 14 and 9 in like 18 minutes. And then Marquette and Florida State, a lot of that dealt with foul trouble. Like with Marquette, he had a foul like 12 seconds into the game.
Yeah.
And picked up third foul right at the beginning of the second half. And so he was out of rhythm, I think, in both those. So I think it's just been circumstantial that it's tended to line up with what happened in that video, honestly.
You go back to that win over Duke, and Caleb Love was sensational. He put on a rather historic performance in Cameron. I first want your impressions of that game back in February, and then give me some reasons why he hasn't been able to replicate that same level of play since.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're spot on, Josh. What a performance from Mr. Caleb Love against Duke. Man, like, can you imagine thinking of your first game at Cameron Indoor Stadium and doing that? Like, wow, what a debut for him. Most threes he's hit all year. That contributes to the 25 points in a big way. At that point, it was his career high in assists. But then the inconsistency that followed is a progression of the team. Mm-hmm. As we well know, as Tar Heels fans, so the point guard goes, so the rest of the team goes on a Roy Williams team. We've said it over and over. Playing point guard for Roy Williams has to be one of the most 5 difficult roles in all of college basketball.
Right.
And so a freshman in that role is going to take a huge step forward from time to time, a talented freshman anyway, like he did at Duke, and then is going to take a couple steps back. Additionally, since that game, I heard an interview with him in which he was saying, you guys got to remember, I'm still learning how to be a point guard. I've been a ball-dominant scoring guard my entire basketball career,
right.
And now I'm trying to figure out how to get everyone else involved too. So I think that's part of it. There are positives, though. He's had multiple assists in every game since that Duke game. Sure, that's tied in with more turnovers than we would like, but so he's not experiencing anything Kobe White or Cole Anthony didn't go through. I think I said this last time we talked, but just a good reminder for all of us is that he does not have a veteran behind him, like a Seventh Woods or a Nate Britt or some of those other guys we've seen come off the bench. He's got Kendall Marshall, sure, but there's no on-court help for him. If Caleb Love is struggling, who does Coach Williams turn to?
R.J. Davis, yep.
Freshman. Yeah, exactly. And so I just think it's a product of again, the circumstances around him. So, I'm really hoping he stays for another year. I think a sophomore Caleb Love with a sophomore R.J. Davis would be something good to see. Now, I also have hope for Saturday because there's something about performing well against the same team consistently. We've seen that recently with Buddy Boeheim against the Tar Heels, right? And so I wouldn't be surprised if Love has a pretty big game Saturday night.
Another player that has had some recent struggles is sharpshooter Kerwin Walton. After being named ACC Freshman of the Week a couple weeks ago, his name, as you could expect, started showing up in more scouting reports, and teams are taking him off the three-point line. After going 0 of 7 against Syracuse, what do you think has led to his dip in perimeter shooting?
And I would say it's just the natural regression of things. He's been up around 45%, and really the best three-point shooters should be shooting enough to where they round out to about the low 40s. So if you're sitting way above low 40s, I would say you're not shooting enough. So my observation is that in the past 2 or 3 games, he's been hunting his shot a little more. You can notice, like I saw this both at Syracuse and against Florida State, he was pulling the trigger early and often. It could be at the suggestion of the coaching staff. It could be he's just getting more and confident, and his teammates are wanting him to shoot more. But yeah, I mean, like you said, he's only 5 for 24 over the last 3 games. So this regression it's a natural thing. We've been insanely spoiled with how consistent he's been.
Yeah.
Before the Syracuse over, he had 9 straight games with multiple 3-pointers that he made, and then 15 straight games in which he had made at least one. I mean, that is a freshman we were expecting to barely contribute. This is not Kenny Williams, who hit 1 3-pointer his entire freshman year. So the encouraging thing to me, though, to flip the corner on it a little bit, is that he's still shooting. And not only is he still shooting, but even with this regression, he's still up above 40%.
Yeah.
So just to put it in context, that is unprecedented. No freshman in the Roy Williams era has attempted 50 3-pointers and made 40% or more for the entire season. He's still above that.
Walker Kessler went from being an afterthought to a big part of the Tar Heels' success, even though it's been uneven since he kind of became a part of the rotation. First off, did you see this progression happening during the season? And then what excites you about Walker Kessler moving forward?
No. to your first question, yeah. I really didn't see this coming. There's so much to be excited about, which you asked about. We'll talk about that in a second. But I thought this year we'd probably see some nice contributions from time to time, see some glimpses of what he can do, maybe some spot minutes when Brooks or Baycott get in foul trouble. Very similar to like Tyler Zeller, his freshman year, playing behind Deion Thompson and Tyler Hansborough. It's just there's not really a path to a lot of playing time.
Right.
And so what we've seen these last 4 or 5 games has just blown me away. Yeah, I did not expect it at all. Obviously, he came back down to earth a little bit against Syracuse, but had 4 straight games of double digits, and obviously the Herculean effort against Florida State in the second half. That was something.
Yeah.
Wow. So what excites me most about him, I love that he just puts his head down and goes to work. He's clearly very coachable. To hear him talk, he just says yes, sir, and goes on with whatever he's asked to do. So he's something of a unicorn, this blend of talent. I don't remember many other people that we've seen do what he's able to do. He's got this motor that just goes and goes and goes. He's got a willingness to do anything to help his team. I wish I had gone through and counted the number of times he's unfolded that lanky frame down onto the floor to go after a loose ball. Like, he's got a willingness to do that. He's efficient inside. But it's not just the dunks. He had this great kind of drop step baby hook against Florida State on the baseline. So he's got that touch. He's got rim protection. We've been absent essentially since Bryce Johnson. You don't just get 4 blocks against Florida State by accident.
Yeah.
Like, when you're going against that kind of length and athleticism that Florida State rolls at you in waves year after year, if you get 4 blocks against that, you're doing something special. And then the last thing I would say is shooting. Obviously, we've not seen as much of that this year. But we know that that's in his arsenal, and hopefully, assuming he comes back next year, I think we'll start to see more of that shooting.
Let's talk about my man, Roy Williams, right now. He won his 900th game against Florida State last Saturday. And in the last 2 seasons, he's achieved some historic milestones, passing his mentor, Dean Smith, winning 900 games, and has the chance to pass Bob Knight this season. Do those achievements carry any less values than normal because the program isn't among the nation's elite? And on a 2-part question, is there any way possible Roy Williams is underappreciated?
I would say, if anything, the milestones achieved last year and this year, passing Coach Smith and getting to 900 wins, I think they carry more value, carry more weight, because it reminds you of just how good a coach he is. So, I mean, anyone is going to have a desert season where they're just not as good as normal, be it recruiting or underperformance or injuries or whatever. Like, you just can't make it through an entire career and not see that from time to time. So I think, rather than it being a negative, I think it's just a reminder of how good a coach he is, even in the midst of a season like this year and last. and then hopefully a reminder of where things will hopefully return under normal circumstances going forward. So, it's been a strange recruiting cycle coming off all the NCAA stuff from a couple years ago, but now you start to land some of this one-and-done talent, but that's led to weeding out some of the multi-year talent. And so I think they're just not in a sweet spot right now. It's like you either have to fully commit to one-and-dones like Kentucky and Duke have,
right,
or say, we're going to sprinkle a couple of those guys in with a Joel Berry and a Theo Pinson, these maybe 4 to low 5-star guys that are going to stick around for a couple of years. And I think some of the freshmen this year, I think that's what we've got in them, and that excites me going forward. So, like you said, I think it's still possible he'll pass Coach Knight this year into third place all time. They can get by Duke on Saturday, maybe pick up a win or two either in the ACC tournament or the NCAA tournament. I think he can get to 903 right now. And absolutely he's underappreciated. There's no questioning that. Look at all the times he should have won ACC Coach of the Year that he hasn't, because Josh Pastner won 2 more games than he should have at Georgia Tech or whatever it is. But being just down the road from Coach K and John Calipari, and what a flamboyant personality he is, I think it just has settled Coach Williams in under some of those guys. And you know what? Good. Let people appreciate him.
Let's talk about Duke now. Big game on Saturday. Carolina won the first matchup in a high-scoring affair back in February. Can we or should we expect the same type of game on Saturday inside the Smith Center?
Yeah, I would say so. It's typically when these guys get together, they know each other so well, but they just go out and play and score a bunch of points. So emotions are going to be high. It'll be senior night. It's the rivalry. The rivalry always carries these emotions. So I would say maybe things are a little bit sloppy out of the gate as everyone's trying to settle in. Maybe Garrison Brooks presses a little bit because it's senior night. You know, those kind of things that we see. But I'd say once things settle in, it will be up and down, high possession, high scoring, just like it was last time. As we know, both teams are going to be desperate to win because of the season they've had and because of bubble status. I gotta think the Tar Heels won't shoot as well from 3 as they did last time.
Yeah.
I just don't see them hitting 10 and 15 again. That'd be great if they did, but I don't think you can rely on that production again. I would also not be surprised. You know, in recent years, Duke has done a great job of spreading the floor and just dribble drive attacking, and then kicking out for threes or taking the layup if it's there. Unfortunately, we know Carolina doesn't do a great job defending that type of offense. So I wouldn't be surprised if they go more to that. So I would say mostly similar, but we might see a few differences from the first game. But it's weird. It's like we've circled around a couple weeks later, and they're both still right where they were last time they played, both sitting on squarely on the bubble.
Right. It had appeared Duke had turned the corner after the departure of Jalen Johnson, but back-to-back losses have the Blue Devils on the outside looking in for the NCAA tournament. Earlier, you tried to help me figure out Carolina's season to this point. Can you help me figure out the Blue Devils at this point, Isaac?
No, I can't figure them out either. Man, Duke is just as much of an enigma as Carolina is. So, clearly, without Jalen Johnson, they are a less talented group.
Right.
I mean, there's just no – he is a talented young man. But from what I've seen out of them, I've had the opportunity to watch several Duke games recently, including I watched the entire Georgia Tech game this week, and they are undeniably a better team without him. I think they have more buy-in. I think they're more unified. It reminds me more of the teams when Duke has just been really good, where they are unheralded in terms of the names on the back of the jersey, but just know how to play together well. And so that honestly, as a Tar Heel fan, it scares me a little bit. I wish he was still on the roster.
Yeah.
But to help figure out Duke, I think now even more so, they are relying on fewer people offensive production. Their offense is very highly rated. They're 14th in offensive efficiency. But against Georgia Tech the other night, for example, they only had 3 people score a point in the first 16 minutes of the game.